I could see a scenario where Jeff Sessions is replaced with a recess appointment, and that Attorney General doesn't fire Bob Mueller, but he just reduces his budget so low that his investigation grinds to almost a halt.
That's Matthew Whitaker, the acting Attorney General who reportedly has no intention of recusing himself from the Mueller probe he repeatedly criticized. Here's why Trump turned a former hot tub salesman with little experience into the nation's top law enforcement official.
We'll see, because it's a unique design that's going to help lots of people that have mobility issues get in and use their hot tub in a safe manner.
Michael G. Whittaker was born in 1969 in Ankeny, Iowa, a suburb of Des Moines. He graduated from Ankeny High, where he was inducted into the Iowa High School Football Hall of Fame. From there, his gridiron career continued. He went on to the University of Iowa, where he played tight end on the losing side of the 1991 Rose Bowl. This would be his first taste of many defeats. Whittaker graduated that year with a bachelor's degree in communication studies. In 1995, he received his Juris Doctor degree and a master's degree in finance from the University School of Business. Upon graduation, Whittaker went into practice as a lawyer for a handful of regional law firms. He was also corporate counsel for a national grocery company. In 2002, with experience in arguing for grocery stores, he decided to take his talents to public office. As a Republican, Whittaker ran unsuccessfully for state treasurer of Iowa, losing the race to the incumbent Democrat. By 2004, Whittaker finally locked down a position in politics. It was a position that didn't have to be voted on, so he won. He was appointed the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa, where he served for 5 years until the Obama administration took over. In 2012, Whittaker was the co-chairman of Rick Perry's presidential campaign.
I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm a Christian, but you don't need to be in the pew every Sunday to know that there's something wrong in this country when gays can serve openly in the military, but our kids can't openly celebrate Christmas or pray in school.
Like Whittaker's bid for treasurer, Perry's campaign failed. But somewhere along the way, Whittaker must have thought he made a name for himself. Because in 2014, after consistently losing, Whittaker thought he'd try his hand at running for the highest chamber of Congress. He ran as a Republican in Iowa for the United States Senate. Whittaker campaigned on a number of classic conservative ideas, like repealing the Affordable Care Act. We need to do everything we can to repeal it, defund it, delay it. We need to do whatever it takes, Whittaker said. He also went after same-sex marriage. I believe marriage is between one man and one woman. Throughout history, it's traditionally been up to the churches and to God to define that. He said Marbury versus Madison, the famous case that gave judges the power to review laws, was a bad ruling. But Whittaker's arguably most troubling idea came when he said he would only support federal judges who have a biblical worldview. In a 2014 debate, Whittaker went pretty hard at the idea of a secular judge, even though the office of a U.S. Senator is secular. If they have a secular worldview, then I'm going to be very concerned about how they judge. The Des Moines Register notes that what he was effectively saying was, if elected, he would see no place for a judge of Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, agnostic, or other faith, or of no faith. But like every previous rule, Whittaker didn't win anyway. He only secured 7.5% of the vote, coming in 4th place out of 5 candidates in the Republican primary. After losing, Whittaker chaired the campaign of Sam Clovis, a Republican candidate for Iowa State Treasurer, but he lost too. Clovis would eventually become a grand jury witness in Mueller's investigation. Clovis was listed as a campaign supervisor in an indictment of a former Trump campaign aide, George Papadopoulos, who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. In other words, Whittaker has a personal connection to a witness in the probe he is overseeing. Whittaker's resume includes a stint on the advisory board for World Patent Marketing. WPM billed itself as helping investors turn their ideas into businesses. People who flocked to the site filled with fraudulent success stories could pay for what was called a global patent. The only problem was there was never such thing as a global patent. Once they had someone on the line, WPM would keep asking for money to further the development of the inventor's idea, only to keep the cash while doing next to nothing for the investor. In some cases, the company took up to $400,000 from unfortunate clients, many of whom were veterans. The company made millions, and according to the Federal Trade Commission, inventors were left with nothing. The FTC called the whole thing a scam that bilked thousands of customers out of millions of dollars. When customers complained, Whittaker lashed out. He threatened legal action against someone who had reported the scam to the Better Business Bureau. I am assuming you understand that there could be serious civil and criminal consequences for you. And then he closed with, please conduct yourself accordingly. The company was eventually shut down and hit with a $26 million fine for scamming its customers. Whittaker just walked away from it all scot-free. In June of 2017, he was hired by CNN as a contributor with an ulterior motive. John Q. Barrett, a law professor at St. John's University, reportedly met Whittaker at CNN on several several occasions when the two were there discussing the Russia probe. Whittaker told Barrett that he was going to New York from Iowa to appear on CNN more frequently, in hopes of being noticed by the White House as a staunch defender and supporter of Trump and in turn get a job offer. Whittaker was working hard to impress Trump, and Trump was watching. After news broke that Donald Jr. had met with a Russian lawyer who was offering dirt on Hillary Clinton, Whittaker came to bat for the president's adult son.
To suggest that there's a conspiracy here, I mean, you would always take that meeting.
Continuing his quest to become a blip on Trump's radar, Whittaker retweeted a Philadelphia Inquirer article titled "Note to Trump's Lawyer: Do Not Cooperate with Mueller Lynch Mob." In 2016, Whittaker also wrote an article in USA Today titled "I Would Indict Hillary Clinton." And he wrote an op-ed for CNN titled "Mueller's Investigation of Trump is Going Too Far." The op-ed accused Mueller of coming up to a red line in the Russia 2016 election meddling investigation that he is dangerously close to crossing. And if Mueller didn't limit the scope, it would raise serious concerns that the special counsel's investigation was a mere witch hunt, Whittaker wrote. All of this was seemingly music to Trump's ears as, just a month after Whittaker's hit piece on Mueller's probe dropped, Attorney General Jeff Sessions hired him as his chief of staff. And as Trump's disdain for Sessions, who recused himself from the probe, continued brewing, one day after the 2018 midterms, the Whittaker blip on Trump's radar was finally ready to pop. On November 7, 2018, Trump forced Sessions to resign, the latest move in his slow-motion Saturday Night Massacre. The president's reason for bypassing Rod Rosenstein, the guy who's actually Senate confirmed, for Matthew Whitaker, is pretty clear by now.
The left is trying to sow this theory that essentially Russians interfered with the U.S. election, which has been proven false. They did not have any impact in the election, and that has been very clear from the Obama administration. They're trying to suggest that essentially the Trump campaign had these deep ties into Russia, which is not true, and that is, I guess what they're trying to conflate is that somehow Russia and the Trump campaign, sort of conspired to influence the election. I mean, it's crazy.
Critics fear any decision Whittaker makes in the Mueller investigation will be in the best interest of Donald Trump rather than the country. Every significant investigative step made by Mueller has to go through Whittaker first, who will have the power to overturn, alter, or suppress any of those findings. Seems fair. Regardless, Trump claims he doesn't even know Whittaker.
Well, Matt Whitaker, I don't know Matt Whitaker.
But some people say President Trump does know Matt Whitaker.
I can tell you Matt Whitaker's a great guy. I mean, I know Matt Whitaker.